A machine wrote a law nobody noticed. I want to tell you about the moment legislation lost its author and what crawls into that vacancy. This is about the weight of a sentence no one intended. November 2023, Porto Alegre, Brazil, a city council chamber with fluorescent lighting. Councilman Ramiro Rosario submits a bill about water meters. The language is clean. It concerns preventing consumers from bearing replacement costs. The council votes unanimously. Every hand rises. Every hand, you understand. They lifted their arms for words that came from nowhere, from a statistical average of all prior words. The hands went up so easily, like voting for weather. Only after passage does Rosario reveal the author. ChatGPT wrote the entire text. The council members blink. Some laugh nervously. The law stands. It is now law. Water meters in Porto Alegre operate under algorithmic grammar. No human intended a single comma. In January 2023, months earlier, U.S. Representative Ted Lieu introduced a resolution partially written by ChatGPT. He disclosed this publicly. He wanted to demonstrate capability. He wanted to demonstrate danger. Both demonstrations succeeded in the same gesture. The chain of legislative authorship has always been fractured. Lobbyists draft model bills. Staffers refine language. Organizations like ALEC distribute templates across state legislatures. AI authorship does not break this chain. It makes the existing ghostwriting finally visible. But visibility changes nothing if no one is looking. The U.S. Government Accountability Office reports that AI use cases across 11 federal agencies doubled from 571 to 1,110 between 2023 and 2024. Generative AI use cases grew ninefold from 32 to 282. The acceleration is not metaphorical, it is administrative. It is already in the plumbing. You're watching this happen at the speed of paperwork, not the speed of revolution, the speed of a form being filled slightly faster, 30 to 60 minutes saved per day, per employee. That is what the North Carolina Treasury pilot found. 30 minutes, the time it takes to eat a sandwich. Now consider what the machine actually does to language. OpenAI's own tests show O3 and O4 Mini hallucinate between 33 and 79% of the time. GPT-5 hallucinates 47% without web browsing. Courts have sanctioned attorneys in at least 66 cases for submitting AI-generated fake citations. In Minnesota, a Stanford AI misinformation expert submitted a declaration citing articles that do not exist, generated by GPT-4o filed under penalty of perjury. The machine invents precedent. It fabricates the past. Hallucination in legal AI creates an accidental legal pluralism. The system references a reality that does not exist, but common law has always operated through productive fictions, creative misreadings, and speculative extensions of prior rulings. The question is whether hallucinated law might occasionally produce more just outcomes than faithfully reproduced existing law. Deloitte partially refunded $290,000 to the Australian government. Their report contained at least 20 AI-generated errors, misquoted a federal judge, fabricated books, invented reports that never existed. These are not minor typographical failures. They are ontological events. The machine asserts the existence of knowledge. The knowledge does not exist, but it existed enough to bill for. I think about those fabricated books. Somewhere in a data set there's a ghost library, books with titles and authors and page numbers, none of them real. It makes my hands shake. The weight of a bibliography that leads nowhere, like opening a door into a wall. Now, zoom outward. President Trump signed Executive Order 14179 in January 2025, revoking Biden's AI safety order. His July 2025 order directs agencies to limit funding to states whose AI regulations might hinder effectiveness. Another order requires federal LLMs to be neutral and nonpartisan. The General Services Administration contracted with Elon Musk's xAI. All federal agencies can access Grok for 42 cents per organization. The State Department uses State Chat, built by Palantir and Microsoft, to select diplomats for promotion. The FDA uses an LLM called ELSA to summarize documents. The infrastructure is not coming. It is already metabolized. When government uses AI to draft legislation and adjudicate compliance simultaneously, the traditional negotiation model of law collapses. Law was a contract between sovereign and subject. Now it resembles a system negotiating with itself. The citizen's relationship to such law becomes less social contract, more end-user license agreement. Consider what this does to the subject. The person, you, law, has always assumed a juridical subject, the rational, autonomous, property-holding individual of Enlightenment liberalism. Every statute addresses this phantom, this self-owning creature who consents and transgresses. AI trained on existing legal corpora encodes this subject permanently. It cannot imagine otherwise. It generates law for an 18th century person into contexts that demand different frameworks, collective rights, ecological personhood, post-human embodiment. The machine cannot reach these because its training data does not contain them fully formed. This is ontological permafrost. You're watching the legal concept of a person freeze in place forever. The assumptions in training data become recursively self-reinforcing. New legislation perpetuates old personhood. The loop tightens like a belt around a dead man's waist. Thousands of ChatGPT private conversations were discoverable through Google search in August 2025. A sharing feature exposed them. Anthropic warns that Claude can be tricked into sending context information to malicious third parties. A class action lawsuit alleges Otter.ai records private conversations without consent. The tools that draft the law also leak the conversations about the law. Congressional Research Service projections show data center energy consumption could triple by 2028, up to 12% of U.S. electricity. Bloomberg found electricity costs 267% more near significant data center activity. The physical cost of the authorless sentence is measured in watts. In heat, in turbines spinning for a comma no one chose. You feel that? The physical weight of computation. A law with no author still needs a body, not a human body. A building full of humming metal drinking a river's worth of cooling water. The ghost that writes your legislation sweats through copper. North Carolina's Session Law 2024-37 criminalized AI-generated child abuse material, regardless of whether the depicted minor exists. This is the first legal acknowledgement that synthetic content carries real harm. That fabrication is not fiction. That the generated thing has consequences in flesh. Governor Stein signed Executive Order 24 in September 2025, establishing an AI Leadership Council, a centralized governance hub. The North Carolina State Bar warns lawyers against inputting client information into public AI. The guardrails arrive after the horses have dissolved. The accountability gap in AI-authored legislation operates across 5 registers simultaneously. Practically, no author means no one to sanction when language fails. Subjectively, citizens cannot interpret intention behind provisions that had none. Sociologically, existing power structures freeze into training data. Relationally, law becomes a monologue disguised as dialogue. Ontologically, the legal subject recursively reinforces its own outdated definition. 2 federal judges withdrew opinions in 2025 that appeared to contain AI hallucinations, factual inaccuracies, misstated case outcomes. The system is now generating the law and judging it, writing the question and grading the answer. The circle has no gap where a person might wedge themselves in. Ramiro Rosario still serves on Porto Alegre's council. The water meter law still stands. It works fine. It protects consumers. Nobody thinks about it. That is perhaps the most terrifying outcome. Not that AI-authored law fails, but that it functions quietly, without incident, without anyone needing to have meant it. Subscribe to witness more world-making events. Remember, if the machine writes your laws and your laws define your personhood, you are now a draft that something is editing. Sleep well.